I'll be bringing you all the latest in frontline and security high-tech that is completely transforming the future for armed forces and beyond. Coming up on the show, we test out the flight sticks and helmets giving our RAF fighter pilots the winning edge. We take a look at the X-plane, the revolutionary aircraft combining fixed wing and helicopter technologies. I get hands-on with the 3D printing that could revolutionise the supply of vital kits to the front line. It's takeoff for Britain's newest and most advanced fighter jet ever, the F-35B. And we're in Florida, meeting the team behind the latest prosthetics for athletes at the Invictus Games. Advances in technology will soon completely transform the way combat fighter pilots operate in the skies. In the first of two special reports, Charlotte Banks has been given rare access to one of the biggest names in military high-tech, BAE Systems. They are at the forefront of developing futuristic headwear that allows the pilot to not only see in the dark, but also through their plane.
In aerial combat, Britain's fighter pilot top guns rely on the latest technology to give them the cutting edge, and one piece of cockpit high-tech is breaking new ground. Here at the Rochester Research and Development Centre of BAE Systems, engineers are in the final stage of developing one of the most advanced helmets ever produced. Striker 2's designed with ingenious new features which could give Royal Navy and RAF pilots the winning advantage in dogfights. But before any helmet can leave here, they must first pass rigorous testing. Just out there is the factory floor, and that's why I'm wearing this rather fetching layer of protective clothing. But we're now inside one of 5 optical testing benches here at Rochester, which is checking the functionality of the Striker helmet before it's delivered to the customer. And I'm now joined by Mark Applegate, who's the resource manager here. What can you tell us about the testing that's actually going on here?
First of all, welcome to BAE Systems at Rochester. So in terms of the helmet, the pilot receives a display on the visor. So quite a clever bit of testing and calibrations performed on this particular test bench.
Now it seems like there's a lot of electronics going on inside there. How delicate or robust is this helmet?
Very strong, very strong. In fact, in terms of design, it's one of the strongest helmets in the world. And that's all about health and safety and protecting the pilot. So if the pilot ejects, he or she stays safe as they do so. So we try and make it incredibly light, but incredibly strong.
Once the helmet passes that phase, it comes here to the thermotron to undergo what's called environmental stress screening in this ultimate stress test machine. In a matter of minutes, it can heat up like an oven to 70 degrees centigrade, and with a burst of liquid nitrogen, the temperature can plummet right down to -40, and the machine can vibrate on 3 axes, creating pressures of 6G. It's no wonder they call this test the shake and bake. This is the next generation of combat aircraft helmet, and it's pushing all the boundaries of technology. And here to tell us more about it is a man with 35 years of flying behind him, former combat and test pilot Mark Bowman. Mark, what can you tell us about this helmet? Just what is it capable of?
Well, I like to really refer to this as I'll say a 3-in-1 helmet. The first bit, of course, is all about safety and comfort. Today's combat pilot needs safety from ejection forces up to maybe 600 knots, and they also need protection and audio protection from all the stresses and strains. The second point is, most probably, as you'll notice here, quite a wacky outside on the helmet, which is a tracking system. And what that tracking system does is now essentially connects the pilot and his head to the rest of the weapon system, so he can control many sensors. The third point is actually around the visor here, which to all intents and purposes is a visual system to place information in front of the pilot's eyes. In fact, it's a HD television, and a HD digital television at that.
So what capability is this helmet giving the pilot which he didn't have before?
If I can put information in front of the pilot's eyes wherever he's looking, then he's highly likely going to be able to make better decisions. Better decisions hopefully mean earlier decisions, and earlier decisions mean real combat advantage.
The helmet almost lets you look through the walls of the cockpit, is that right? How does that work?
Quite an amazing feature, obviously, but you're correct. If you've got a sensor that's around the aircraft, say in this case looking underneath the aeroplane, the digital little display here allows you to put that information in front of the pilot's eyes, and with the tracking system, if he's actually looking down now through the cockpit, then he almost is looking essentially straight through himself at underneath.
One last question, can I put it on?
I think you should, don't you?
So what's it actually showing me?
What you'll see out in front of you is a horizon-based situation. You'll have his speed, you'll have his height, his rate of descent, navigation and information as well, all of which allow him to process to make sure the attitude of the aircraft and his various combat capabilities given to him at all times.
The helmet's camera transitions from day to night, removing the need for heavy night vision goggles. This reduces the G-force on the pilot's head and neck. It's also fully HD and can zoom in without loss of quality. The image is bounced off the inside of the visor directly into the back of the eye. It combines the pilot's eyesight with the camera's, creating a hybrid vision. And with its view of airspace around it, the Striker 2 is at the cutting edge of aviation.
Well, we'll be back with Charlotte later in the show as she gets to grips with a revolutionary new flight stick. Next, an unmanned aircraft that can take off, hover and land vertically could be deployed as soon as 2018. It's the result of an American program for futuristic flying machines developed by DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And the latest winner of this experimental aircraft competition is called the VTOL X-plane. America's Defense Advanced Research Agency is into the next phase of its program to develop a new vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. It's awarded Aurora Flight Sciences a contract to develop a technology demonstrator of its VTOL X-plane. The Lightning Strike will be the first aircraft ever to use what's called a distributed propulsion system. That means its 24 hybrid electric propulsion ducted fans will be powered by one Rolls-Royce engine. The developers are hoping each fan's thrust could be changed to increase manoeuvrability and efficiency. It's hoped it will achieve a top speed of 400 knots, raise hover efficiency from 60% to 75%, and carry a load of at least 40% of its 10,000 to 12,000 pound weight. The demonstrator will be unmanned. Aurora hope it will fly in 2018. Now, it might be in its infancy, but 3D printing promises to be as transformative as the internet. Put simply, a machine can produce a solid three-dimensional object from nothing more than a digital file. And it could have radical implications for frontline forces and quartermasters, as I found out. So you want technology that could revolutionise the military. Big data, stealth planes, robots, maybe even bullets that can change direction. But what about turning military logistics on its head? No more need for massive sheds full of just-in-case-we-need-them supplies. What about a room that looks a bit more like a laboratory with machines that can make exactly what you want, but only when you need them? Could 3D printing put the quartermaster out of business? The American military is already using 3D printing, and it's proving cost-effective.
This whole piece costs about $45 to make. In comparison to buying the metal, this alone probably costs $200.
For Britain, the Royal Navy has been testing a 3D printed drone designed by Southampton University and made at 3T's facility in Berkshire. So if that's what it can do, how does it work?
We receive CAD data, so computer design data, from our customers. Our team here will then analyse the data. In the case of plastic parts and metal parts, we'll then orientate the part to be built to best effect. The computers will then slice that data up into very thin layers. The machines then will build those back one layer at a time. Each time the platform drops down, a layer of powder is laid on the top, filling the space. The laser will then simply melt the powder where the part is required and leaves the rest as powder. And as you melt each layer on top of each other, what happens is that the new layer is effectively welded onto the bottom, onto the one before. And consequently, you produce this complex, solid part.
Once the part has been printed, it has to be broken out. We broke out our drone parts with a little help from Daryl.
So this is a basic process. We're going to jack the powder up now. And basically what I'm going to ask you to do is get your hands a little bit dirty and basically take the powder away from the top of the bill.
Okay, so I can be quite, it just crumbles away like talcum powder. So this can all come away?
Yeah, you can just break this up nice and gently.
So I can feel a hard bit in there.
There you go.
That's our part.
Got to the top of the part now. Okay, so you'd like to sift the powder over in that direction.
It feels slightly warm in the middle still.
It would be, yeah. It's all come out of the chamber. It's
over the sieve, yeah, that can all go.
Yeah, that's right.
Does this get reused or thrown away?
It does get recycled,
right,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now you can see the top of the part. As you can see, it's come loose as well. So, so what we tend to do is just then slowly break away the loose powder from the outside of the part to expose the part. Like that.
Yeah. So this is what's taken nearly 3 days from beginning to cooling to where we are now?
That's correct, yeah.
After the design process. And you can see these are the holes there that obviously are full of the dust and the...
That's right.
It's a bit like when you were a kid, when you used to make those plaster of Paris things and there was that moment where you turned it out.
That's right, yeah.
Did it crack? Is it all right?
It is, yeah.
I know it's slightly more high-tech than that.
Basically what we're going to do, we're just going to blast the residue from the part and get it as clean as we possibly can.
So we have our wing connector. You can see there how it would fit into our drone. So the question we want to answer now is whether the Royal Navy could do this themselves. Could they 3D print it on board a ship?
I think if you choose your 3D printing technology carefully and if you really want to do it, I would think that it should be possible to have maybe a fairly small printing device, powder bed type technology, and then have a stabilised platform inside a room designed for that process. I would think it is possible. If you really want to do it, I'm sure you can make it happen.
So what is it good for right now?
Well, it's very good at making spare parts, but you do have to design for the technology. So if you're expecting to be able to make any parts on the battlefield or on the front line anywhere, you have to have thought about it first. You have to have designed it months or years in advance.
And if you're worried that this is all, well, maybe a little bit plasticky, you shouldn't be, because a metal 3D printer could make a bespoke part for a vehicle, say on a remote base, in a matter of hours. And if you're concerned that maybe it wouldn't be strong enough, well, this is the roll hoop from an F1 car. What it goes to show is that 3D printing or additive manufacturing is developing fast. So it's a technical process to design, manufacture and produce 3D printed parts. That might slow the military progress of additive manufacturing and keep the quartermaster safe for now, but maybe not forever. Well, that is it for part one, but join us after the break when we give you the tech spec on Britain's newest and most advanced fighter jets, and at the Invictus Games in Florida, the innovations in prosthetic technology supporting injured military athletes. Welcome back to the Military Tech Show, bringing you all the latest in frontline and security high tech. Well, time now for the second part of our special behind-the-scenes report from the research lab of BAE Systems. Charlotte Banks takes the controls as she gets to grips with an innovative flight stick that allows pilots to feel feedback from the aircraft about how they're flying it.
It might look like a simple control, but inside this stick are complex electronics, the result of 20 years research and design. These joysticks and throttles are called active inceptor sticks. They're used to control the aircraft, in this case an attack helicopter, but they do much more than that.
Active controls provide force feedback, which may take various forms of feedback to the pilot, be it stick shaker or cues. So if you feel the stick, and as we bank over to the left, you will feel pushback as you reach an aircraft limit.
Normally these instruments are passive, which means information only flows one way. They control the aircraft, but they don't feed back any information to the pilot. These active sticks do. The vibrations and judders tell the pilot when the aircraft is reaching the very extremes of what it can do.
This is all about providing improved situational awareness so the pilot knows exactly where the limits of the aircraft are. So this is the latest advances in this technology.
So what does it give to the pilot then? What's it helping him do while he's flying?
So it enables the pilot to be eyes out and understand where he is within his flight envelope based on the force and feel of the controls that he has his hands on, and that through a haptic or a force cue that he receives to his hand is the best way to provide the feedback.
The sticks are electrically linked, so the pilot and co-pilot can feel what each other is doing.
Yeah, so whenever you're moving the stick, I can feel it, so I know exactly what you're trying to do at the same time as I am, I suppose.
Exactly. So if you were to try and push the stick forward and I was trying to push back, then you would obviously feel us fighting between each other, which would be provides that awareness between pilot and co-pilot.
It's technology that makes flying much safer for the next generation of combat pilot.
It's lauded as the world's most advanced combat plane, but it's also one of the most expensive. The Americans intend to build 3,000 of them, and despite delays, this stealth jet will one day be taking off from the flight decks of Britain's new aircraft carriers HMS Queen Elizabeth and HMS Prince of Wales. So, just what is the F-35B? The Invictus Games in Florida demonstrates how sport can inspire recovery and support the rehabilitation of wounded, ill and injured servicemen and women. During the event in Orlando, we visited the Tech Hospital, one of the leading manufacturers and suppliers of prosthetic limbs, to take a look at the latest innovations available for its athletes.
Prosthetics is really evolving. It's been really incredible. We've started out, with mechanical knees that this is typically what people were able to run on, which is a single axis door hinge for all intents and purposes. And this is not really designed for running. This would be for walking, but they could potentially run on it. So we have since evolved to having a whole line of running sports-related systems. There are trials that people can do. We've got options for amputees to trial our products. So this would be a specific trial that they can put on their existing prosthesis and take it for a spin, so to speak. And then this is our Challenger foot. This is the first kind of global sneak peek for the Challenger. And this is bridging that gap between everyday walking feet and more your court sports or basketball, everyday boxing, walking. We've had several people try it, and we're really here to trial these different systems. And then we have a microprocessor line of knees for above-knee amputees. Okay, now try that.
Oh yeah.
So now you can see it controls you a little bit more rather than just dropping into the chair.
Back in 2007, I was assisting a coworker change a tire on the side of the freeway in Minneapolis when an individual traveling at 55 miles an hour on the shoulder of the highway hit me from behind, pinning me between two vehicles. So as a result of that impact, I became a bilateral above-knee amputee, which means both of my legs above the knee were gone. I'm wearing the Autobach X3 microprocessor knee. They have a microprocessor built into the unit. They have gyroscopes, oscilloscopes that are talking to a hydraulic unit that is resisting or providing the amount of resistance needed to keep me mobile, to keep me ambulating, and to protect me, to keep me basically upright. Stumble recovery is there if I catch a toe or if I change the terrain. The knee knows that at the time, real time, and it will add more resistance through the hydraulic unit to keep me from buckling, like a hinge unit would, a mechanical knee would.
Can you show us? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I'm walking, the knee knows to go into swing phase, so there's very little to no resistance on the knees. So when I stop and I decide I want to turn around, there's resistance there. So as I push forward, the knee is resisting, so it's not allowing me to buckle. And then when I go back into normal ambulation, normal walking, it is swing phase again. So there's no resistance, making it easier for me to walk long distances, move around obstacles, go around corners, things like that. There's no resistance, it's called swing phase. But again, as I slow down or stop, you can see it's resisting there, pushing back. Otherwise, normal mechanical knee or another type of knee would continue to go forward using gravity and ultimately buckle. So very safe through the sophistication of the technology, underneath.
It's so rewarding. We have a wonderful job and we are so grateful to be part of the Invictus Games and the prosthetic community in general. It's been phenomenal just over the 15 years I've been in the field to see the evolution and see the change.
In recent conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, British infantry soldiers were protected by body armour known as Osprey. Now troops are set to benefit from a new kit system called Virtus, which promises to be lighter and more agile but just as protective. As Ali Gibson reports, soldiers from 3rd Battalion the Rifles joined their US colleagues in Louisiana to put it through some rigorous testing.
As the Apaches circle overhead, B Company 3 Rifles move on to their objective. Engineers and fire support help clear their way. Insurgents have moved into this village. It's the soldiers' job to move them out. This is Exercise Rattlesnake. British troops embedded with US forces in Louisiana for the first time in almost a decade. The riflemen are fostering the special relationship with their American cousins. But they're also here to test Virtus. It's the British Army's latest innovation, a new body armour, helmet, day sack, a whole protective and load carriage system designed to combat some of the problems with their old kit. In Afghanistan and Iraq, British troops wore Osprey body armour and often had to patrol and fight wearing more than 50 kilos of bulky kit. A solution was needed to create a fight-light soldier. 3 Rifles received Virtus just weeks before they deployed, back at their barracks in Edinburgh. So, what's new? Comparing their old Osprey kit on the left to Virtus on the right, you can instantly see just how much slimmer it is. It's lighter too, they've knocked 5 kilos off overall. There's an optional face guard. The body armour plates are the same, but there's a lot more space for manoeuvre. And Virtus is full of innovations. A counterweight can be attached to the back of the helmet to balance out a night sight. The material for the pouches are folded like origami, making them stronger. It's also gone a little bit RoboCop. The dynamic weight distribution system is a movable spine that allows troops to balance weight between their back, hips and shoulders so they can go further for longer. And for troops in danger who need to be pulled to safety, there's this, the quick release mechanism. The Virtus project began back in 2012 with a winning manufacturer chosen in 2015. They put the kit through 95 different tests, overseen by the MOD's Defence Equipment and Support Wing.
That's the underpinning element of this system. How does the human function within the system? We want to make that better. We want to increase their comfort and agility. And to do that, we had to understand how they were going to use it. So we did some lung function tests, we did cognitive tests, and some of those have really brought out how the soldier needs to use the system in real life operations.
From the lab and out into the field. Exercise Rattlesnake is the first time Virtus has been used on a large-scale exercise.
Room clear! Door front, window front!
3 rifles have been live and blank firing at the Joint Readiness Training Centre in Fort Polk. 200,000 acres of elite American training area.
In the UK, training in an urban environment is done using blank ammunition to protect the soldiers when they're clearing through the rooms. But here in Louisiana, these buildings use a special type of absorbent ballistic concrete, meaning you can use live rounds with a minimum chance of ricochet.
It all adds to the adrenaline and sense of realism you feel here, allowing troops to really work out the pros and cons of their new protective kit.
We tested it really well with our body armour, the helmets, the interaction with the webbing, and everyone had the opportunity to, because it's so scalable, to put the pouches effectively where they wanted them, where they found them most useful.
I like the body armour and the helmet. I'm not too keen on the DSAT and that, just unnecessary straps getting you with.
I'm pretty confident with my own kit. Like I've used it for like 12 years, and it's I don't like change. But hopefully, I will be using this kit and adapt towards it, and it could be better.
The helmet's a lot better. It's lighter, fits better. You don't sweat as much from the head. It's a lot better, especially with the fixed monocle mount as well.
Virtus is still a work in progress, and so the feedback 3 rifles give from their American adventure will be used to modify and adapt it. As protection continues to get lighter, tougher and more flexible, the soldier of the future could look very different indeed.
Now, in the cat-and-mouse game of anti-submarine warfare, the US Navy is developing a new surface vessel they hope will outwit any underwater enemy. And it has one significant feature: it's unmanned. Called the Sea Hunter, it's computer-driven and can cruise the open seas for months on end without any sort of human guidance. There's a new weapon on the water in the war against submarines. America's unmanned active sub-hunter has begun open water testing from a base in Portland, Oregon. The 132-foot vessel will search for submarines at sea for as long as 3 months at a time. That's with no crew and without coming back to port. It's also designed for counter-mine activities. The twin-screw trimaran is designed for enhanced stability in all weathers. Advanced soft and hardware act as automated lookouts. That means it won't collide with other ships. The test vessel has been christened Sea Hunter. Defence procurement and research has never been more important. In fact, the British government recently announced an investment of £178 billion in new equipment and support over the next 10 years. Military and security exhibitions play a crucial role in showcasing the latest innovations from potential suppliers. And one of the key events takes place in Wales. I went along to see what the future might hold. This is the Defence and Procurement Research and Technology Exportability event in Cardiff. Not a particularly catchy title, but it is absolutely jam-packed with all the very latest tech and innovation. So Andy, this is a prototype system, hoping to go into production in the next few weeks and months, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Just explain to us exactly what it is.
Okay, so what we've got in a nutshell is a very, very portable under-vehicle search system. Okay, so the kind of thing that you would want to be using on a vehicle checkpoint. On the softer end of the market, you could be using in a hotel, in a car park, or a gated community, something like that. And what we've got is the brain of the system, actually in here, which is a mil-spec computer. two cameras. One of those is looking out, surveilling for surveillance on the vehicle approaching, capturing the number plate. So that's a day and night infrared camera. And this camera system we've got here, which is glowing away quite nicely, is an under-vehicle inspection camera. So that's a semi-fisheye camera. So as the vehicle drives over...
This is what people drive over on
Yeah,
the
so
road.
the only thing that goes on the road is this camera here. The rest of this would sit off to the side of the road, and if it was in a permanent location, it'd be put away in an office, like under the desk, as a normal computer would be.
And how does it actually work in terms of how do people look at what the images are being produced? How do we
Okay,
see
yeah.
that?
So as standard, this comes with wireless, so we can beam that out to any tablet. So that could be a ruggedized tablet, or it could be a tablet like this.
Okay.
And we've tried to make things as simple as possible. So what you've got is a very simple user interface. It's touchscreen, as everything is these days. And all we have to do is basically touch on the image and move across. And we can get a good, almost three-dimensional image of the underside of that vehicle as it comes across, with an overview of that vehicle approaching, and potentially we can get the driver there as well, so we can get a chance of recognizing who's in that.
So as a very quick security check, you can very easily just drag your finger across, have a good look underneath.
Yeah, as you're doing there. Yeah.
It kind of replaces the mirror under somebody's...
Absolutely, and it's just to try and make that easy. If you imagine a guy with a mirror, you might be hot, you might be cold, you might be freezing cold, you know, might be rain coming down, nighttime. It just tries to make that guy's job a little bit easier.
And in terms of the vehicle recognition, it's a little bit more intelligent than that, isn't it? In terms of recognising different languages and words.
It does, yeah. The actual software is built on a very robust license plate recognition, number plate recognition piece of code. So as the vehicle approaches, the camera there is looking out for number plates. And if it sees a number plate, it starts thinking, look, there's a vehicle approaching. That ties in with this camera here. And because of the nature of the cameras, we set up a number of virtual boundaries. So as the vehicle comes in, crosses point 1, 2, 3, drives over this, the license plate's been captured, and then the driver's potentially captured as he drives through that window of opportunity on the camera there.
Well, just to give you a sense of how important some of the innovations on show here today are, this is a pair of protective glasses that for testing purposes was shot by a Remington shotgun from a distance of just 5 meters. You can see plenty of damage, but nothing that's gone through to the other side. So IT, not the most glamorous of topics, but I wanted to show you this rather nifty bit of kit. It's about the size of a credit card, as you can see, and it's pretty much a computer in your pockets. In terms of stats, it's got 128 gig of solid-state storage, 1.9 gigahertz of processing speed, and this is what the soldier of the future might be carrying around with them in their pockets, with absolutely everything that they need on there. It's robust, it costs about £1,000. In terms of just how robust it is, well, the guys that made this put it into a kettle of boiling water, boiled it for well over a minute, and it was absolutely fine. Not entirely sure that was enough. They then froze it and it was absolutely fine. Just imagine that you're in a vehicle, you're in a Foxhound, you've got all your information, your mission parameters, whatever, on this bit of kit here. You put it in, you conduct your mission, you come under fire, you need to get out quick, you release it, you take it with you, and you're leaving absolutely nothing behind. It's like the ultimate in tactical hot desking. More from me at the exhibition a bit later in the show. Well, that's it for part one, but join us after the break when we give you the tech spec on the British Army's Ajax, the future of armoured fighting vehicles. And as I find out, you can run but you can't hide when you have the latest drone hot on your tail. Hello, welcome back to the Military Tech Show, bringing you all the latest in frontline and security in high tech. Now, there could soon be an ordinary, everyday feature in the skies above us. Let's face it, the potential for drones has never been greater, from delivering books and pizza to flying in emergency blood and medicine. One of the latest has heat-seeking capability, and as I found out, that could prove very useful for police and the military. I'm here at a secret location somewhere in England to find out more about drones, but not just any drone, one of the most high-tech on the market. It costs about £50,000, but before we find out more about it, we want to see whether it can find me. definitely run over me. Yeah, I'm busted. Andy, you found me. Brilliant. As it comes into land. Nice job. Didn't take too long either. Let's take a closer look, just while we're chatting about it. I mean, it does look quite impressive when it's up there in the air. And on the ground as well, of course. Just talk us through the different elements. Give us the tech spec.
Everything on the aircraft actually is custom made. So we looked at hobby grade air components, and really they just didn't have the life that we wanted. 2.3 kilos, of which the majority is the battery. It is a flying battery. So we actually fill the aircraft.
Yeah, really like now. Okay, so talk us through.
So it's carbon Kevlar body, an airframe. These bits here are injection molded components, but everything else is composite. These blades are actually a special composite material that we've designed, which is taken from the motorsport industry. So by doing that, it spreads the load of the aircraft so it can carry more. So it can carry up to 500 grams, which for a 2.3 kilogram aircraft is quite a lot. The motor pods, everything has been done from scratch really, because we found that we just didn't get the reliability that we needed for the military in hobby grade components.
One of the key things with this, as we saw earlier, was how fast it is to get it together and get it in the air. What is that, a couple of minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. It's 2 minutes is probably about the right time, but if you're really going for it, you could probably do it in about a minute.
Just talk us through the military applications for this. Presumably it's reconnaissance.
For an urban environment, being able to land onto buildings, they call it perch and stare, where you can land for very long periods of time and just watch and track people. It's also very quiet. So it's about the hum of a refrigerator at about 10-20 metres high. They've used it for sort of search and rescue, customs, maritime interdiction operations.
And if we flip it over, just take a look at the camera, there it is. Talk us through.
Yep, so it's got a combined electro-optic and infrared camera. The infrared camera is manufactured by a company called Fleur, and it's a Quark 2, which is probably the smallest and lightest that you can really get on the market, which is a 640 by 480 resolution camera. And then we've got this 10 times optical zoom electro-optic camera.
And to switch it over,
yes.
Show us how that happens. That's quite a simple process.
Yes, so it's just a question of twisting it and clicking it out. And then we have this interface, which is the standard for all of our products, but you could interface other ones, and then you just line them up.
Okay, if we turn it back over, I guess the only question to ask really, Andy, is whether I can have a quick go.
Of course.
Yeah? Okay. The UK's Ministry of Defence has ordered 589 of a new war machine at a cost of a cool £4.5 billion. It comes in 6 different variants. The British Army hopes to start using them in 2017, and it promises greater firepower, manoeuvrability and survivability than its predecessors, and is known as the future of armoured fighting vehicles. But just what is the Ajax? Time now for the second of my reports from the Defence Procurement Research Technology and Exportability event in Cardiff. Not a particularly exciting title, but the event does play host to some impressive and fun innovations. So this is the next generation helmet that's currently being rolled out across the British Armed Forces. Andrew, you can tell me a little bit more about it. Why is it so good? Why is it better?
Well, this is the new, it's called the Virtus helmet, so it's part of the new Virtus program that's been currently rolled out in the UK MOD. One of the key things, and probably the most interesting ones, is the weight. So if you compare it to the old systems, this is just over a kilogram.
That is
so
light,
total
isn't
weight.
it? Yeah,
it
very
is.
light.
So this, what you're holding there is the complete system. So it is the new helmet, which is the Virtus helmet, made out of polyethylene. It has about 900 grams in terms of weight, and then you've obviously got the visor system and the mandible guard. They all together make the entire system, and then obviously depending on the threat level that you're looking at, the missions you're looking to go for, you can customize it.
So these detach quite simply?
Yes, you can just take this off. The mandible guard, slightly more difficult, but you can pop it out as well. But you can combine it in any shape or form depending on the mission that you're looking to go.
And both sections fully bulletproof?
Yes, they're bulletproof. So obviously the focus here is weight, so it's been more focused on fragmentation support. It does stop bullets as well, but obviously focus on fragmentation, which is with bombs going off or IODs. But obviously the mandible guard comes in different variances. It has 9mm bullet fragmentation as well, but obviously we do it in both ballistic and non-ballistic sense. And then obviously you've got the visor and the goggles, which are protection as well.
And being rolled out through the rest of this year?
Yes, so we started last year. This year's a big push for this. It's replacing the Max 7 helmets for the UK MOD. Big push this year, and it will basically slowly be rolled out to individual parts of the UK MOD. Hopefully this year, latest next year.
Got to refuel where you can at these kind of events, but this actually isn't going to help. Not a chocolate bar. Turn it over. Plastic, hollowed out for a microphone to go in for covert surveillance. Similarly, this tree branch and this rock, very strong magnets holding this together, but if I can prise it open, you can see there's the space there for a camera to go and a very small, tiny pinhole for the lens. Harvey, fantastic looking bit of kit. Before we talk about it, just show me what it does.
Yes, sir. Heels on the plate, legs wide open. Grab the bars close to the plates, elbows in the pelvic area, and begin. I love this.
Yeah, that does look hard. Now, you've taken 20 years to come up with this system, yes?
Yes, sir.
So why is it specifically designed for the military? Why is it so good for the guys and girls in the military?
Military, because all soldiers are mandated to be fit or else they get put out of the service. Number two, space requirements. This is great for the barracks, for men who have nothing to do. Instead of gambling and looking at films, they can do this and stay in shape. Number three, it goes wherever you go, and it's powerful for men who are going overseas to train foreign armies. Most of those guys don't even have access to running water, nevertheless a gym.
I've got to have a go.
You got it, sir.
I've been told I've got to have a go, essentially.
Okay.
Okay, so heels on.
Heels on,
Yep.
legs wide open.
Legs wide open.
Okay, stand up straight.
I was.
And don't lean back.
Don't lean back.
And just pull
Elbows,
up.
pelvic area.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Do the best you can.
That's the best I can do.
Okay. All right.
And that is it from us for now. We hope you've enjoyed watching the Military Tech Show. Until next time, goodbye.